we like to make worm compost teas with it. So we will use it as an inoculant for our soils, and then we also use it in the aquaponics for those micronutrients that we don't get out of the nitrates. You're getting those out of the worm castings. So this is just kind of a started. Then here we layered with cardboard on the bottom, and then within these are layers of food. There's oatmeal, there's coffee. The biggest thing when you're doing a worm bin is you want something on the bottom of it that's going to soak up some of the moisture because it can get pretty wet. Once you have that good bottom established, then leaves are something that you really want to start with. Your food always needs to be buried. So putting like scraps right on top of here, it's going to be really hard because they don't like to come to the surface a lot. Yeah. So I'll come in here and pull all of this back through the middle, bring the middle out, and then put their food down there. So if you get in here, you can see they've got all kinds of greens within there that they can get to without having to come to the light, because they really don't like to do that. You want them as comfortable as possible.
What kind of worms are you using?
So these are red wigglers, which we don't recommend actually putting outside into your garden. Red wigglers actually are a little bit too good at composting, and they're showing some trouble with them out in established forests. They're kind of they're composting a little bit faster than they need to, and they're eating a lot of the leaves and stuff, and those nutrients aren't being taken by the plants because they're not used to having that that amount of nutrition, and so a lot of runoff is happening in places for red wigglers. So containers are best. They are the best composting worm. So as long as they're kept in a container. But if you wanted to do something that you wanted to put in the garden, earthworms is a great one too. So we just like this for the compost and the tea. So right here we have a drain, and then if you can look down there, we have a shut-off valve where we just turn that on, and everything it gets a little bit wet, and then whatever they excrete is down there, and we were able to use that, aerate it, add some more good things to it, and then apply it in our gardens as a microbial inoculant.
How often do you wet that? Every day?
Well, it just really depends on the weather. So like right now I'm not wetting it at all. When the summer gets here, probably every day, really just making sure.
High heat, wet it.
Yeah.
High humidity, let it go.
Yeah, and you can really tell too, like you always want them to have a dry spot. You don't want it to be too wet.
Oh, that's a good point.
Yeah, and so this is what's called bedding. Down below this is their food layer, and then that bottom space is usually where that compost has already happened, and you've got kind of your finished product. But if they because sometimes if you're putting a lot of food in here, they're just like super overwhelmed. There's too much going on. There's a lot of nutrients. They just want out, and so they'll come up.
You're talking about leaves.
Yeah, leaves. Well, so leaves are their food, but it also acts as their bedding.
Green stuff. Yeah, you had a few.
Yeah, and so a little bit further down, they have their food, and then this right here is kind of like their escape. They can come up here. They're still not in the sun, but they're a little bit further away from everything. Even like if it gets too hot or it gets too much water. So you always want to make sure you have like a big bed of something that they can kind of escape from, and then have your food underneath that. Yeah. And then you just really kind of pay attention to it.
Where'd you get all those leaves?
So I go around my neighborhood in Bixby and I pick them up from all the neighbors.
We did the same thing. A lady said she was going to have to pay $50 to have those hauled off.
Yeah.
You're like, you can pay me $50 and I'll take them.
Yeah.
We go around with a big old trailer. We usually pull a trailer and we just go around, and if somebody's out there, we're like, hey, can we take your leaves? If they're not, we're just like...
Yeah, leaf mold is another thing that's really good for your gardens. We do a lot of inoculations with leaf mold, so this will be high up here, and it condenses down, stays like that for a good long time. It takes a lot of time to break down leaves. If you're doing like a static pile where it's just kind of staying.
Like months?
Years. So yeah, like a year or two to get like a finished product. If you wanted to go faster, you could keep it in the bags that you pick it up on the side of the road from. Just stack those bags, and you come to the bottom bags of the next year, and they're dirt.
They get moisture in
Oh
there.
yeah, I mean, and the heat and everything, it's crazy. I mean, they're dirt.
If you're all right with seeing a big old mountain of trash bags,
They
they're good.
stink too when they get wet.
Yes.
Feel a little mildewy.
Go low. That's what we do, is lay them out and then mow over them. If you got a lawnmower that has a bagger, then you're bagging those up and they're real chipped. and then you can do a second mulch where you're like sticking them through one of those shredders, like just a horsepower shredder, and then you have this really fine, really awesome material that you can use inside of your gardens to like really cover the soil. So if you're doing plants that are here and here and here and here, and you have a lot of soil that's exposed in between those, leaf matter is a really good cover to put down to shade that ground, to keep the water from just, you know, every time it rains, those raindrops really hard on soil that's been tilled. It's really hard on soil that's bare. That's why we have grass to really, you know, catch it and make it easy before it gets to the ground. So putting something down like a leaf mold really helps to not make that so compact and not make it so, you know, by the time summer gets here, it's so dry, it's cracked, it's concrete, you know. So leaves really help that. And it brings in life, like you'll get spiders and ladybugs and all kinds of life inside your gardens with that stuff on there that really help your garden. So
Do you guys put worms in any of your grow beds?
Yes.
Rock beds?
all of them.
To get,
And you put those leaves
something
too?
else?
Yeah, red wigglers.
Yeah.
No, just the worms. So there's a lot of organic matter that passes through those beds inside of our aquaponics and
That's
the.
got to be a $350 bin there.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, it is. We just had it sitting around there, and I said, I'm putting wormies in this.
So as an alternative, I guess you can buy totes. Or
Yeah.
IBC totes probably
Yeah,
work.
so
Probably need to paint them.
The worms through the winter, before I put them over here, when it got a little warmer, they stayed in that, and I fed them all kinds of stuff, birch, like birch that had mushrooms all over it, leaves. They got coffee grounds. One of our sheep, we sheared her and put all of her hair in there. Oh my gosh, they went crazy. I'd never seen anything like it. They were all inside that hair. They loved it. So yeah, it was really cool.
Who knew?
Yeah, so they like a lot of things too. They'll eat down a lot of things.
You said
So-
that you got red ribbons in all the beds.
Yeah. All the aquaponic beds, they
I
break
would take
down
all
and
those
help with our-
roots from the things that we do harvest. When we harvest from those beds, there's usually the roots left down in there, and you don't want that organic matter sitting there. It's rotten. It's bringing in flies. It's bringing in diseases and things. You don't want that, so we put the worms in there to get rid of that stuff.
And they poop that gold, you know? Okay, if you guys want